On episode 4 of Convergence, Dancing with the Universe, why time is not a shirt, and gross outdoor advertising.
At the end of the last episode, I thought you said something really cool that I don't really have anything to add to, but just wanted to reiterate how beautiful I thought it was. You said that the things that you were working on were kind of more heart and head related, and the things that the project I was working on was a bit more body, and I'll add spirit related. And I feel like between you and the head and heart, and me and the body and the spirit, like kind of like a full spread coverage of what
we've got a whole person
what we're working on and what we're aiming for. Yeah, it's really quite cool.
Yeah, I think my body's to come. It's not its time yet, but it's definitely it's definitely coming. Like, yeah, the heart and the brain. It's brought me back to 3 is the magic number. The heart and the brain and the body gives you 3, and that's a magic number. So it appears that the universe might be dancing with me.
Oh, nice! Might be happy with you that you're starting to do some. You explain it to me. You tell me what's the dance.
So, we've been having this conversation about what we truly want. And one of the things just came unbidden to my brain I don't know, it was last week. It was like, something you miss is radio. Like, and wouldn't it be fun to actually do some real radio on a real radio station, or it doesn't have to be big, but wouldn't that be fun? And it was just one of those things. I was just like, put it out of my head. I didn't really sort of wish for it or anything, because I just thought, well, I know how much is involved in that, and how much work is involved, and I'm sort of fairly good where I am now. But yeah, no, it'd be lovely. Today, someone asked me if I wanted to join a radio station.
Wow. Wow, I love it. What is that, like a serious opportunity?
Yeah, I don't think it might not be paid, but this will be the first time that I was asked, as opposed to, can I join your radio station, please? I was invited. Nice.
Wow. Yeah, that's the universe dancing for sure.
Yeah. And there's I'm vibrating a little bit today, because there's been a few of those things that have been sort of just pinging off, and all sorts of stuff that's been happening just this last week or so. And I've kind of got a. It's weird. I need to kind of take some time to put all of these nice little. They're not all opportunities, but they're all threads. I've got to kind of put them in order, because I don't want any of them to flap away in the breeze. Like, I want to make sure that I can not grip them too tightly, but at least put them in order somewhere so that I can address them, and so they don't fly away. And so if you hear tiredness in my voice today, it's because I am tired, because this is call number 5. And one of them was a live stream, and the other one went on for 2 hours.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. And was with my friend. I literally just hopped off this call, 2-hour call, with my friend that I'd talked about when we first discussed manifestation, and how the frustration that I'd had, and we walked through it all. We talked through it all.
Awesome.
And we had a really good conversation about it. And at some point she's going to have to come on the podcast, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it was wonderful, with all the stuff that she's talked about self-hypnosis and the universe, to hear that's what I'm I mean, her head nearly exploded when I told her I was getting into manifestation, and it was wonderful. What's been going on for you this week?
Well, you mentioned a little a little idea. So we moved the back end of our podcast planning system into Notion because you like Notion. It works for you. I don't really care. You do most of the work anyway. So, but then you proposed this cute little plan of streamlining the audio publishing to be within Notion, and you just needed to do a little coding to do it. And at first, I was just like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I mean, great. I appreciate you running it by me, but like this, yeah, whatever. But then it hit me in two ways, both in the to be magnetic way and the Enneagram way that we've kind of touched on. And I was just kind of, I wanted to bring that up and kind of poke at you a little bit with hopefully not the, like I whenever I gently call somebody out, because this is gentle. This is not, you did nothing wrong, but
I already feel like I did.
You did not. You did nothing wrong. You marked so hard, and it was really great.
Oh no! I don't like being a verb.
I'm sorry, Nate.
Okay, I'm gonna be intensely uncomfortable for the next half an hour.
This is a safe place. This is a safe place where I am telling you things. No, I saw you wanting to do this extra little project in the spirit of making things easier and nicer and in a creative fashion and unique and a bit of putting your own effort into it and everything. And on the Enneagram side, being a 9, we're both doing dominant and doing repressed. So we take in things by doing. So we process things by doing. That's how we understand the world. So in that regard, this is perfect. But we're also doing repressed, which means not that we don't do things. We do a lot of things, but that the doing that we do is unproductive. It's not towards our goals. It's not getting us where we want to, unless we check ourselves and address that. And this could be something that's very productive. It could be in the short term or the long term. It could make things easier, and then you spend less time doing the rest of the stuff. But it also could be that that it's a sidetrack, that it's a side quest, an extra adventure.
It's DLC, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that also made me think of, how do you know if it's productive? Like, how do you know if that's going to be the good path for you? And that's where I feel like the TBM side comes in with your authentic code and aligned action based on your authentic code. And I can't remember your 4 pillars, except for movement and play.
Warmth
right now.
Warmth and it's not engagement, but expression.
Expression, yeah. And so I don't know, like, if you run the Notion coding to get the podcasting through Notion, if that aligns with any of those 4 pillars, and those 4 pillars are what will get you to the dream life, and that's like the idea, at least. And so that just came to mind, and I wanted to in terms of us being accountability buddies, and in this group, to be literally calling each other out and showing each other our weak spots and stuff. That was the spirit in which I wanted to bring this up. And also, in turn, I do also want to be called out. Like, I really want to be called out. I had an app idea once that I shared with our friend Yuvi. I told him, man, I really want to be listening to music, but I also really want to be listening to podcasts. And I wish I could make an app where one ear would hear podcasts and one ear would hear music. And that way I could get both done at the same time. And I could still still up the podcast speed to 1.5 speed or something like that, and just be able. And he told me that idea sounds productively bankrupt. Like, that's just And I really appreciated that feedback. It's like that stuck with me. Like, okay, that's trying to do too much, and so then I wouldn't be doing anything. But that was my thought about Notion coding.
Part of the space that, and none of that is wrong. I don't reject any of it. I accept all of it. Thank you. And also to say I haven't done anything about it. Part of the thinking was I've been a bit frustrated with Bramble because it's come. So Bramble is the podcast platform that I've been building. Started at the end of May. Furious action, lots of doing, and I'm at a crossroads that I did not expect to be 3 weeks ago when we started this podcast. And that very real crossroads is Bramble in alignment, and it sort of breaks my heart a little bit because there's so much to be proud of there. But I'm also, now that it's being exposed to more people, I'm seeing where it's broken, where there are bits that need to be fixed. And truth time, I am not excessively motivated to fix those issues, which, tells me something. The notion of it all, the idea of the Notion thing was basically, I want to keep making podcasts. I want to keep helping people make podcasts. I do so much in Notion anyway, and I've in some ways been trying to replicate what Notion does in Bramble. Why don't I just say, screw it, not cut out the middleman, but introduce a new middleman, and just, take out a lot of the work that I've been doing, and actually, just say, put the audio in Notion, and then you get a podcast out. And there's lots and lots of sort of things that make that not ideal, but it's a fun idea to play with. And that was kind of it, really. It was just a fun idea to play with. It also insight of thinking, is Bramble the thing? And I thought it was. And then I started to really sit down and think about, where I want to go, what I want to do. What does life look like if I'm not constantly doggy paddling? And there's a lot of doggy paddling involved in Bramble. And also the fact that hindsight will make you look at things in all sorts of different ways. But when I've had conversations with people in the industry, no one has thought that Bramble was a particularly good idea. Because of the climate and because of where we are, and why would you be an incumbent? Why would you be an upstart in when there's sort of people going, I think we solved this, Mark. I think we solved hosting. Like, we're good. And there are still people doing it. There's still people starting up new things. But the fact that that's sort of the reaction. Contrast that with when I have conversations with other people and I tell them about it. They're like, that sounds great. But there are still conversations around, how is it different? And I don't know that I've really satisfactorily answered that, other than saying, yeah, but it's mine. It's doing it the way I want to do it. And it's not doing it all the way I want to do it just yet, but it's doing it some of the way I want to,
you only started it in May.
Yeah, exactly. And I can be kind to myself and recognize how long it took to build Podient, and some of the sacrifices involved in that, and the dissatisfaction, and and all those kind of things, and just sort of going, yeah, do I want to be there again? When I can see an alternative route, because I think that was the thing, in May, I didn't see the alternative route. I didn't see the idea of what might it mean if I can be paid to support people with their creative work. And do I have a bit of ability right now to test that and see if there is something in it? And I've got a bit of leeway at the moment. I don't feel like I'm scrabbling. And do I have time to do that and Bramble? Now, what makes it awkward at the moment is there is, one other person using Bramble who is not me. And so that's a whole question for another day, and maybe a bullet that has to be bit, but better to do that sooner. But yeah, so it was sort of all coming from that place of like, I love this thing, but I don't know if it's what's going to serve me long term. I don't know if it's the right thing right now. But and trying to, as I so often do, and as what feels like a 9 thing, do my way out of the problem rather than not do. And that's and sort of realizing that, I think, is why I haven't done anything, and instead I made a silly game in an evening, which I still enjoy. And I played, and it's quite fun. And I worked on my Christmas song, and that's what I did this week. And that felt a lot more gooder than brambling, which is just, yeah, it's such a weird thought, and there's so much baggage that comes with it. Because I can look at the website and go, even that website itself had about 4 iterations because I wanted to get it right, and I wanted to get the messaging right, and it's not even in its infancy. And I've had good conversations with people, but is it ultimately a distraction from what now seems like a clearer path if I can be brave enough to stick it out? And Bramble would require the same amount of bravery, so yeah. So
that's amazing, dude. Man, so that's so bittersweet. It's hard to react, but I'm proud of you for coming to those thoughts and asking yourself the hard questions about what you really want and what's the right thing to do. And yeah, that's tough, man.
Yeah, I think back in the day, I think I would think about, this has to be announced, I have to tell people, and it's like, no, I don't. I could just stop doing it. No, the same number of people who aren't signing up now would be the same number of people who don't care that there isn't this thing that they didn't know existed.
It can just sunset.
And it might be that the one person that I have to say, listen, I know you moved over. I'd actually said to them, like, wait, because we're not ready. And then she was like, no, I want to do it, which was beautiful and lovely. It might be the time to say sooner rather than later. Perhaps it's worth moving back. Yeah. But hey ho, we move on. And onwards and upwards. And you've been hard at work.
I have. I've also been. I spent this week doing some doing. I had the proud and elated feeling of painting the baby's room as the expectant father before the, and like there's no announcement yet. There's nothing coming in the pipes. But
I was going to say, I had this horrible thought that I'd missed an announcement.
Nope. Yeah. No, there's no announcement. But we're going to start trying earlier in the year, in the new year. But I'm working on the room now because I have a bunch of projects here that I at the cottage that I really want to finish before the baby comes. And including the baby's room itself, which I started to do first because it's inside the house and it feels very tumultuous to have kind of a construction area going. The way that our house is laid up is there's this big L-shaped awkward bedroom in the back of the house, and so we added a little zigzag wall to make it 2 rectangles with closets, and they're both pretty tiny rooms, but that's really kind of fine for me because, like, the bedroom is really just for a bed and clothes. Like, don't hang out in the bedroom or anything like that. All the hanging out comes in the big, nice living room that used to be a living room and a bedroom, but then I combined those two rooms to make a big open floor plan. And so I sacrificed a bedroom, and then I added a smaller bedroom, and it works out great. But it's been taken a long time to get the second of the two new bedrooms finished, and so now I'm working on that and getting the walls painted a nice chai. And you can see behind me, I've got some bookcases I'm working on, and there's a little bench down below that has a pull up butcher block thing for storage underneath and stuff, and I'm really, really proud of it. I've got like oak inlays and like a mint green paint that kind of looks like a not oak, walnut, with the walnut and the mint kind of looks like a chocolate chip mint kind of ice cream color. And it's just kind of really classy. Like, I'm just super happy with it. So that's what I've been doing. I've been doing that a lot, as well as working on Rockstar, meeting with some clients. Got a new client call and declined the project because their house is kind of like sinking into the sand beneath their house, and it's not stable, and so I don't want to be responsible. They actually did a project a year ago, and the contractor definitely messed up. There was some bad work done, but I think also because the house is sinking, that it's like compounded, and I'm like, I can't take on that I can't take on that liability. So you have to fix all of that before I can come in and even give you an estimate. And then also, after the end of last podcast, I had my interview with Brightonbush, and that went really well. So, also kind of bittersweet. They absolutely want me to come and work. They are excited for me. Like, I am a must-have. So I will be going to Brightonbush to work and help rebuild after their fires and try to restore it to its former glory, the glory that I knew in its heyday in 2015. The bad news is that they really want somebody to just kind of be independent and move there full time and not have ties to other things, which completely understand. Like, they want somebody tight in their community, like, because they have a very tight community thing going on, and I get it, and it's just not where I'm at in my life right now. I want to keep Rockstar. I want to keep my house. I want Margaret to keep her career trajectory going, and it's just not the right time for us to all move to Brightonbush. So it might happen in the future. We might build a good rapport and a good connection, and it might be a better time in the future, and I might just, apply for a full time. Yeah, one of their full times goes away, and then I can fill in that spot. So it's kind of great all around. The biggest downside is that I don't get the health insurance that I wanted. Health insurance is so freaking expensive here. Not only is it expensive, but it's just garbage. It doesn't cover anything. And so as an independent contractor, I have to buy my own insurance. I have to go onto a marketplace and buy it. And it would be at least $500 a month for the shittiest insurance that doesn't really cover anything. It's like, okay, if you have to use the emergency room, you'll be okay after like a $10,000 deductible. But otherwise, like, it's not worth it. It doesn't help you at all. And to get anything good, you're paying at least $600 or $700 a month or more, probably. And so it's hard for me as a Capricorn, as a 9, as an anti-capitalist, to at all want to pay an insurance company this much money. Like, I would much rather put that into a money market account or something and have that make an 8% interest or more than then pay these middlemen who are just going to be stealing my money eventually. Like that's just the way they work. They make a lot of money because we all pay into it. And anyways, that's not the point.
Because it's gambling.
Yeah, it's gambling. Yeah,
which is illegal in most of your states.
Exactly. Yeah, we just dress it up in different ways and call it important. We gamble with our lives and our livelihoods. That's what we do instead.
It's all just, it's a bet that I bet this doesn't happen, and that's just like, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Because it's pernicious, and recently I there's a friend of the family who has been absolutely screwed by insurers because I it's not my story to tell, but it made me so angry. It is so unfair what's happening to this person because an insurance company wants to protect, because they don't want to pay out. They know that the person they've insured is in the wrong, and that my family friend is in the right. They know that this is the case, but that's not good enough. They want to keep their money, and it's sickening. It's sickening.
Yeah. The only successful times I've had with insurance companies is like when the payout is like $500. But when it's an actual substantial payout, then they do not they do not fork over. They'll find any little thing. It was an interesting experience. This the project that I have this lawsuit over was an insurance project. So the guy's house flooded, a pipe burst and flooded the house for like weeks while he was on the other side of the country, and his water company called him up and he's like, "Hey, are you trying to use this much water?" It was like a $20,000 water bill for a month when it's normally like $200, which is also insane, but not the point. And so his whole house is flooded, had to be gutted from the ceiling down. Everything was taken out. And my job was to come in and give an estimate for how much everything would be, work with the insurance company to get the most of a payment out of what was done. Because also another reason why I came in specifically was my work with recording studios and soundproofing, and there was a converted garage that had a recording studio in it, and they were like, "We do houses, we don't do recording studios, we don't know how much this should be." And so I gave all the proper information for that. And anyways, long story short, I actually did make some headway with the insurance company. I did get the client more money than they would have gotten, which felt really good. But then they just decided that the client decided that it was going to take too long for me to come out and do the work, and they wanted to work faster, and ended the contract, which that's fine. That's his right to do. But I took my payment for all the consulting work I had done, and he's suing me for that money. And it's just kind of like, well, people are going to people.
People are going to people. So I guess it's only been a week. There's not much more on that at the moment.
Yeah, no, we got the next bit of information should come December 11th when I have the CCB mediation. I'm just it's gonna be interesting because I mean, like, I have nothing to give him. There's not really going to be any negotiation here. Like, there's no, I'm not going to do the work. I can't do the work for him because he has proven himself to be an untrusty person. And even the CCB, which is the governing body that monitors contractors and contractor customer relations, they say that if you can tell that a client is potentially litigious, you should not work for them because it's going to be bad for you. Like, leave that to somebody else. I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow the CCB's recommendation here, because like obviously they are litigious, and they change their mind. They like, and that's fine. A person can change their mind, but I can't work with that. and some other reasons as well. But like, so it's not like I can do the work. I don't have any money to give him, and like all he wants is his money back. And I'm like, well, I don't have that to give you. That's just not there, because that was used for life. That was the point of the payment. That was, yes. But
you rendered services.
Exactly.
It's just because it's someone's time, people think that they can get because it's not a shirt that you can get back. You know, if you return the shirt, you don't have the shirt anymore. You can't get the time back. You, Brendan, can't get that time back. You spent it.
Yeah. Unless he has a way to return that time to me, and then I would gladly find $40,000 to be able to give him back his money, because I'm going to make way more money from being able to return time to myself and finding out that process than $40,000. It's going to be that's a bargain. I'm going to be a cajillionaire.
I wonder if that is, the mentality is that people think of time as a commodity in that way, and something that can just be returned. They don't think, there's labor that's gone into this stuff. And that only ever gets to happen once. That can't happen again, and it can't be revoked. And so, sorry that it didn't work out, but yeah. Anyway, shall we move on to onto other things?
Yeah, while I've been working, I've been listening to this book called "Thank You for Being Late." I think it's by Thomas Friedman, I think is the name, as the author. He's a New York Times columnist. And so I used to be all into tech. I used to follow all the tech podcasts, the Apple podcasts, and be so interested in it. In the last year, I have just really dropped off. I read this book called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. Yeah.
I would guess Newport, because Cal Newport writes books like that.
Yeah, and it has this challenge in it for a month to not use any touchscreens, not use any electronics that you can avoid, do all your work on your laptop, and then close it when you're done. And it really made a difference for me. Like, I was already kind of trending that way, but that like really helped put the nail in the coffin. And I really stopped listening to podcasts like tremendously, going from like 24 episodes a day to like 2 a week. And it's been great. Anyways, not the point. So I've been out of the technology sphere for a while, which is actually kind of funny, because this book was written a couple of years ago. And so it's all the same. It's up to date with where I already was. Like, there's no new information in this. But and it kind of felt like it feels like, because he's writing about the at this point in the book, like how fast technology is moving and how fast it's growing, and it feels like it's obsolete as he's writing it, like not even as it's published, but like as he's writing it down, it's already like way past its time. I did notice it's been giving me a little bit of anxiety. I do feel like, at times I feel like I'm so behind and so out of touch, and like I'm already becoming a curmudgeon and a Luddite and all those things. But at the same time, I'm like, I'll have that feeling, I'll recognize that feeling, and then I'll be like, that really doesn't matter. Like, everybody can be on their tech stuff, but we're all still people in this meat space. Like, we're just, I'm on this process to be more connected with the earth and not with silicon, or the computer screens and all that kind of stuff. So that's been helping me. I noticed I'm really excited for the part of the book that tells me how to feel better about this. Like right now, because I'm still in the first half where it's telling you all the crisis part, and then they tell you, the good stuff at the end. It's called "Thank You for Being Late," and so I'm expecting that there's something good about not being on the forefront of technology. But there was one bit that was kind of like, that was very cringy and shocking to me. And this is old news. This has happened a couple years ago. But have you seen the Tom Cruise classic Minority Report?
I have.
Yeah. And so you remember like how he's like walking down the street and all the little advertisements know exactly, they say his name and like, oh,
hey John, you want
all the personalized advertisements. This already exists, and it probably existed a while ago, but it exists in this way that I did not fathom. There's a section in Michigan on the freeways where Clear Channel Billboards, one of the biggest advertisers in the United States, they use sensors along the freeway to capture MAC addresses of the cell phones in people's in pockets and in their phones, to know who they are and put up billboard, like change the billboard screen that all the people are driving by. What I assume is that they take an aggregate, like, oh, there's a lot of Dunkin' Donuts fans coming up the pike. Let's put a Dunkin' Donuts ad up on the screen.
That feels...
I don't know exactly what their algorithm... But yeah, it's so gross, dude. It's so gross. Like, I've also heard, like, that this happens in stores, too. Like, they use the proximity of how long you stay by a certain display to know, oh, we should enhance this or change this and this and that. And I'm kind of like, okay, if you want to use data to change how you're doing things, okay, maybe fine, that's still gross. But when it's like directly, oh, you're coming, I'm going to show you something that I think is going to convince you to buy. And it's just, it shakes my fiber of my being.
I don't know if this is helpful or not, but that feels to me like a test that was set up, because I don't think you can just sniff someone's MAC address without your machine opting into telling someone that it exists. I don't think there's a way to just to sniff for these addresses. I think what has to happen is maybe there's an integration with a cell tower, but that feels like a big that feels like it's getting into conspiracy territory.
It does seem like a test, since it's always only in Michigan.
Yeah, exactly, and it might even be an opt-in thing. It could it could be because it's such a, I mean, yes, as you say, in aggregate, but that's also a violation. And also, I think Apple, for example, I mean, this is getting deep into tech, but I kind of want to do this just to maybe soothe any sort of fears here. I think Apple don't reveal MAC addresses in the way that they can be sniffed. I think they're randomized, so you would get no useful information from them anyway. But obviously, it doesn't stop people trying, and it doesn't stop Android phones, doing what they want to do. But yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of years, last year or the year before, hearing a podcast where this guy was being interviewed. He was sponsoring the podcast, and so as part of his sponsorship, he got to talk about his product for a bit. And his idea was like audio QR codes. And so you would hear a tone or a message or something, and you would just tap your phone and it would go to that website.
Mm-hmm.
Cool enough, nice enough idea.
Is the tone as ugly as the QR code image? Exactly.
And so the whole premise is predicated on, well, you've got to listen in our app, or you've got to have this thing enabled. And it's like, no one's going to do that, buddy. No one's going to download an app just so that they can be advertised to. It's that rampant consumerism that thinks people are so excited about hearing about brands. No, they fucking aren't. Get out of your your marketing madman Madison Avenue or whatever it is. It's not Madison Avenue, is it? That whole thing, that whole Mad Men nonsense. Like, get your head out. People don't worship at the hall of the Church of Brand. They tolerate advertising, and everyone in advertising talks about actually advertising is content, and it fucking isn't. We tolerate it. You love advertising because it pays you a hell of a lot of money. Oh God, it feels so good to be able to talk about this. So much in the industry about, like, everything is about advertising, and as if it is this legitimate, and it's like, it's not illegitimate, but get your head out of your ass. Like, it is not what you think it is. You're big into it because it pays you a huge amount of money. We don't want it. We tolerate it because we know what the alternative is. We here in the UK live both. We live we pay a license fee that gives us a phenomenal amount of stuff. I mean, the young people today don't get this, and so there's this, like, rebellion against the license fee because they don't actually understand what it gives you, because they think it gives you BBC One and BBC Two and a kids TV channel that they don't watch. Okay, it gives you about 6 different TV channels that broadcast either 12 or 24 hours a day. And then it gives you a news channel that broadcasts 24 hours a day with journalists from around the world that are posted where things are happening. There's a huge website with news and up-to-date information. There's a huge content library that it's one of the biggest streaming, one of the best streaming, and one of the first online streaming services that existed. There's sports coverage. There's all these various different things. They fund other projects. They make digital shorts. They put on events out in the world. They educate people. They were teachers during COVID. And all of this for about, I can't remember what it is, it's about 70 quid a year. That's an astonishingly good deal. And we don't get advertising. And then we have all the other TV channels where we do.
Honestly, I'd say that is an amazing deal and very a very good value for money. But also, I would bristle at paying that too, because I don't like. I'm happy it exists. I'm happy that people can use it. But like, I don't. Like, and I respect it. I like, I've listened to some BBC, the BBC4, some of those comedy shows were fucking great. Song Wars. Oh man, amazing. And I tremendously respect the journalism, but I just don't.
Yeah, but then, I mean, what other things do you not use in your society right now that, it's like, I don't drive on this stretch of road, but I'm paying for it. Yeah, that's because how infrastructure do. That's how it be.
That's true.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. Like, maybe the media studies student, because like, I went into media studies having little respect for the BBC, just thinking they're old fashioned and they're this one and the other. And I began to respect what they do a lot more. And as I've got older, I'm just like, yeah, I'm more and more in favor. And yeah, like the bill comes through, and I'm like, Jesus. But it's a lot less than what you pay for, certainly now for Netflix, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the iPlayer is Netflix, but then they do everything else. And there isn't this thought of, we don't get product placement in our TV shows, in BBC shows. That's not allowed. We get them in other places, and other channels, but like, it's not allowed.
Actually, speaking of product placement, I think I told you about how much I love the most recent season of Loki. It blew me away. But there's some heavy product placement, and it's like a little bit like respect. You're not trying to hide it at all. Like, this is just thank you, McDonald's, for making this season of this show possible, because this is glorious television. I don't really care that you're plastered in front of every episode.
It's I don't know why I get so, like, I think I really do get quite animated about certain things, and I just think it's whenever anyone has like such a reverence for their own, they drink their own piss and they love it so much. I'm just like, calm your jets and stop making us try and drink it and tell us it's chocolate milk.
I'm gonna circle back to something you said. Your initial trying to quell my fears. You said that you think that this is a test, and I heard test in a different context. I heard it in the TBM context of like, this is triggering me. And I was just talking to Margaret about how I don't really feel like I don't know where my tests are. I don't feel triggered often, as I've been working on this sense of calm and serenity and peace and acceptance with everything. And I've truly achieved a lot of it, and I just feel so centered and so calm. And it's like, well, have I just ruined my like ability to know where I need to improve? Because I still want to improve. I know I'm not perfect. I know I've got stuff to do, and so I recognize. I'm recognizing that, like I said, this book is giving me a little bit of anxiety, and I'm definitely getting triggered by things like custom advertising, and that's something for me to work on. I don't really know exactly what to do with that trigger besides take it into the trigger DI, but we'll see.
Yeah, my instinct is to think, don't go looking for triggers. Like they will actually, you will know when they really happen. You know what I mean? Like, because if right now you're feeling stable, I say like live with that, and enjoy that for as long as it lasts, because it won't last forever. Not to be, doom and gloom. It's just nature of life. A trigger will come. Like, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think an opportunity for self-improvement, I'm sure, will arise. Yeah, but yeah, you don't need to force it, because you've done a lot of work, and I think you get to bask for a bit. And I think you've earned that rest, and you've earned that ability to just luxuriate in this and just. And just absolutely do the positive version of wallowing, which I guess is basking in that, and just going, God, I've done a lot. Like, I've run a big race, and I'm just gonna take it easy for a bit, and then at some point,
slip in the hot tub.
Yeah, exactly. At some point, something's gonna come a call in. There'll be a new adventure. There'll be a new hero that needs my help, and I'll be the mentor, and we'll whatever, or there'll be a new whatever, it'll come.
Absolutely.
But I've yet to start delving into the whole sort of tests and triggers and those bits. Some of the language in the program I'm still a bit unfamiliar with, but I will be hoping to do, well, maybe not today because I am so dog tired. But yes, get back into a bit more of the program, because I blasted through a couple of bits because I'd already done sort of some of it beforehand, only like a few days beforehand.
The first week of this challenge has been very recappy of like your previous year, and it's not really a lot of new content besides the sleep DI, which is great. Cameron and I both feel like, and Margaret, I think too, that one just puts us right to sleep, which is just really, really fantastic.
Yeah, I did something that I haven't done in a long time, and it didn't completely work, but it got me nearly all the way there, which is, as a kid, I went through a phase of listening to, don't laugh, I went through a phase of listening to Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells 2. I don't know if you are aware of any of what those words mean.
Never heard of any of that.
So, the film The Exorcist?
Yes, I'm aware of that one.
Do you know the piece of music from it?
I think if I heard it, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay.
That's the music from The Exorcist. Yeah, it's a piece. It's by this musician who was basically the world's biggest music nerd. That's basically what he was. Very talented musician. I once saw him. I watched a video of him doing what he do, and he's just a nerd, just an absolute like music nerd, for different types of instruments and synthesizers and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know if it's true, but I believe, or the folklore anyway, I think, is that this album, Tubular Bells, he played every instrument on it. I don't know if that's true, but the idea is, and so it's got this. It opens with this, which is what was also used in The Exorcist. And it goes off, and it's a big prog rock album, basically. Where I was interested in following up and see if this is something you have, like if you're listening to music, maybe you've got your eyes closed or whatever, or you're sort of idly looking around. Are you seeing images? Are things popping in for you, or is it just all about the audio?
I don't know. I definitely get absorbed in the music, and I'm not really thinking about images. I can see images, and like sometimes, like if something in particular seems really imagery, like it can come to mind. But in general, I'm not thinking about images. I'm just kind of like I'm usually more feeling the movement of it and kind of moving my body along with it, or shaking, or that kind of thing. That's much more my style of listening. And I had one last little bit that I wanted to say about Thanks for Being Late. And this is just something that kind of seems like a no-duh to me now, but it never occurred to me. The usage of fiber optic cable, in my head, it was always just either white light or red light, because that's what I've seen in like a SPDIF cable. And it never occurred to me that not only can fiber optic cables transfer pulses of light, but they can do different colors too. There could be a whole spectrum of colors that could be read, and so you can just get that much more data going through, because you have multiple layers of data that can transfer through the cable. And then they also said that there's something about, like, they're either working on or have already made ways of shaping the light within the cable, which that's beyond my understanding of what that really means. But like, then that's just a third layer of data that can transfer through the cable. And then you could potentially transfer things at like equivalent to faster than the speed of light, because you're going, well, not really, but like, it's just the speed doesn't go faster, but like the amount that you can take that quickly is just fascinating. I don't really have anything about that, but I just thought that was really crazy. It struck me in the book. I like how much music and singing we've done in this episode.
Yes, I'm very happy with that. And I'm also thinking, I mean, yeah, just sitting with, I've got these headphones, but these are my work headphones. I don't have AirPods Max, but it would be fun to just sit and luxuriate in some music. The stuff I used to just sat playing records and not doing anything else. Such a those are really lovely memories. Actually, I have with my family is a lazy Sunday. My brother's maybe out playing some football or something, and me, my mum, and my dad crowding around the record player, and they're bringing me up to speed with or educating me in terms of what they listen to, and I can remember the first time I ever heard Bob Marley's Buffalo Soldier. Like, I know where I was, and it was one of those moments, and all we did, that was the activity. It wasn't what do we do as well. We're listening to records.
No, music is the point.
Yeah. And discussing it maybe, or moving, putting on Carl or whoever it was, Kung Fu Fighting, and dancing around, and kicking and playing karate and all those kinds of things, like and it's all just inspired by the music. I mean, I used to roller skate in my back garden with the radio on, and make little music videos in my head. Like as I was going past, and I remember my mum and my brother watching me and having no clue what I was doing. Because in my head, like I would cycle past and I would do weird motions, in time with the music, and because in my head I was like, the camera is where the French window, not French windows, but where the patio doors are. And so I'm doing stuff, but I'm not looking through the window.
Sure.
I've got my back turned, but like I'm like, yeah, I'm throwing all these shapes for the camera that's in my head because I'm making this music video. And I would do little things like I would peek around and I would, wave my hand, and because in my head I've built this beautiful thing, and then I realized my brother and my mum are just watching me. Just what is he doing? Because he's not looking at us. He's no idea we're there, and he's like every now and again he's just sidling up to the window, waving his hand, and then going back again, roller skating back again. What is this mental kid doing? And it was like in my head, I'm making a music video.
Play and movement and
expression
for sure.
Just needed the warmth, that was all that was missing.
All I want to do is sing.
Yeah, I know. What were you singing when you popped up?
Midnight Rain.
Midnight Rain.
He wanted it comfortable, I wanted that pain. He wanted it bright, I was making my own name, chasing that fame. He stayed the same. All of me changed like midnight. I can't get it out of my head.
I'm gonna have to listen.